Guten Abend. So I was recently looking at Mr. Francis Pierre's program because I enjoy the gentleman's program. Of course, we understand that he might be a little NNP leaning, but I find his program is, in many respects, grounded in logic and reason and less emotional than many other programs. Okay? And the gentleman said something that was very pertinent. The gentleman says that we need to ask questions. We must ask questions, especially ask politicians questions. Okay? It's a First Amendment right, ask questions, protest, stuff like that. So in any equation, okay, and especially in the equation of deception, which I believe there's a lot of deception at play here, we must define certain parameters, okay? We must define elements of that deception, okay, or parameters of that deception. And one of the most serious parameters in deception is what I call snake oil salesman, okay? And the term is just a general term. It doesn't mean just men, because it could be women too. So let's take a look at what is a snake oil salesman. So there you have it, because you must have heard me use the term snake oil salesman and probably did not understand what I was trying to say. So if you didn't, now you understand what is a snake oil salesman. Okay? It is someone who tries to sell you worthless, fraudulent, or unproven products. Okay? All while using charisma and exaggerated marketing to deceive customers. Now, I want you to understand, on this Polaris project, you are the customer. And eventually, if it comes to fruition, you will be the customer. So the question is, and I know you're hoping and you're believing that the people who are selling this to you have noble intentions, but that is not necessarily the case. Because people who engage in deception usually have a greater, more sinister, nefarious agenda. Okay? And that is my suspicion in this case. The real money is not just about the hospital. Of course, they're going to make money doing that. And I'm talking about the people who are proposing this hospital. But as I have said, they're thinking about the long term. They are thinking about the sale of passports, the CBI that will drive money into their pockets. Again, remember, we still got to explain that 21 million. They're not getting away from that. We still need an explanation of that 21 million. But I am telling you also the sinister plot behind the hospital. Okay? So all this other land space that is available, 84 acres. All right? The hospital is only going to take up about 15 acres. So do the math. Okay? So that's roughly 70 acres of land to try to lure other people on that land. And in some respects, if you understand scriptures, the Lord has always said, build your house on rock, never on sinking sand, and build your house on high ground. What is the most valuable part of all this 84 acres to high ground. So this is a long-term hatch plan to not just feed themselves off of the Polaris Hospital, but to feed themselves for another 10 to 15 years. That is, if they win. So I want you to understand also that there are external agents who have vested interests in all of this. I believe the same Mount Sinai is like a hawk and hovering over like a vulture, okay, to capitalize on all of this. Even if the hospital isn't built, I believe Mount Sinai, they know that in the United States of America, there is too much red tape and bureaucracy. So a lot of the things that they cannot get done in the United States, they would be able to do it in Grenada. Because you have already rolled out the red carpet for them. And you know how we like us some foreigners. So guess what? They will come to you as if they are some high priest in medicine. And everything they say, you would take as gospel, and everything they ask for, you will give them. So it's a win-win situation for Mount Sinai. It is not by accident that they entered into this partnership. Okay? Do you believe they see you as some equal partner? Oh no! They are there to direct you. And in some respects, I know how these people think. They will be condescending. They will be condescending. Because as I have said, they feel that they are the popes of medicine. There are also other agents who are involved, and I like to call these politicians and these charlatans, I'd like to call them brokers. That's another term. These brokers who broker deals to sell you out and sell out your land and sell out your sons and daughters. That is why. Remember that whole reduction of the age of consent? You didn't consider what that was about, right? Well, I'll tell you what that is about. Again, that is more opportunity for Mount Sinai, okay, to experiment on your sons and daughters without your consent. Okay? So any little emotional or psychological problems that your kids have, guess what? They would be able to try all their psychotropic medications on them. And all the invasive sexual deviance, they'll be able to experiment on local underage kids. This is what, and this is the direction that you are heading in. And these so-called moralists in the society, these people who say that they're also Christian, has sat back and said nothing about that. I think there was only one gentleman that had the courage to say something about it. But I want you to understand, now you're starting to see how all of this comes together. And now you understand that the plot is more sinister and nefarious than you initially thought. Now, what about the other agents who are involved in the CBI program? What about all the other contacts that they have overseas? Guess what? They might like and might want to see an NDC in power because they have vested interests together with them. And they may want to protect that interest. So I want you to understand that you're not just fighting against flesh and blood, but you, the Grenadian people, are up against principalities and powers. And some of those powers may be powers of darkness. Bet you didn't consider all these things, right? Well, I hope you consider it now. So what do they need to do? They need to keep that gravy train flowing of CBI money for themselves. Okay? So again, the intent here is not noble. The hospital is the bait. The hospital is the hook in this big grand scheme of things. I want you to see through this. Okay? The earnest ambition of the Grenadian people in their need for a hospital is being deceived in a very grand scheme. So that is the dangling in front of your faces. The need for a hospital. That is the hook. So the questions you should have asked, okay, as nobody asked those questions. What are you going to do with the old hospital? Because supposedly this new hospital is supposed to replace the old hospital. Then a very important question that no one asked, I'm yet to see it, is what is the capacity, the current capacity of the general hospital? What is the current bed capacity? Well, I have took a little bit of look into it. And by all measures, based on reports and based on what I've heard from personal contacts, there's generally a 300 bed capacity. So the subsequent question should be, if this new teaching and research hospital is supposed to replace the old hospital, then why are you building a new hospital with reduced capacity of 250 beds? That is an interesting question that no one has seemed to have asked, especially taking into consideration that the population of Grenada might be growing in the future. Why build a reduced capacity hospital? But this hospital, this 250 bed hospital, reduced capacity, 50 less, is being marketed to you as the magical one that is going to fix the healthcare situation in Grenada. This is how this is being touted. And so many things are being dangled in front of your eyes. So many shiny objects are being dangled in front of your eyes that you got deceived and you didn't take time to ask the pertinent questions. That is why they're moving so fast. An element of deception is also speed. You see how magicians do their stuff to deceive you? Part of that deception is very much based on speed of action. And again, that is why they were so eager and quick to bring to you a concept plan and dangle it in front of your eyes to ensure that you take the bait, hook, line, and sinker. I bet you have not considered this, right? So while they're telling you they're building a new 250-bed capacity hospital to replace the existing hospital, no one thought about asking, what is the capacity of the existing hospital? And of course, what is the plan for the existing hospital? This is something that you should ask. Vision and forethought is extremely important when you do not want yourselves to be deceived. You must have the ability to look into the future, to be vigilant, to be sober, okay? To not be intoxicated by sweet speeches and pretty boy ice cream pans and gongs. And be very deliberate and slow to assess, to analyze, and to watch carefully. Scriptures told you, be sober, be vigilant, because who? Your enemy, your adversary, walketh about seeking who he may devour. So your lapse in judgment, okay, and your lack of paying attention, and your drunkenness and intoxication with sweet speeches and political theater will get you in trouble. And then when you get into that trouble, it would be extremely difficult to get out of that trouble. And the very people who deceived you and got you into that trouble would be nowhere to be found to assist you or help you get out of that trouble. There is a saying, it is easier to stay out of trouble, okay, than to get into trouble and try to find your way out of that trouble. It is like pneumonia. They will tell you, doctors and people who are familiar with it, will tell you that in the beginning, the onset of pneumonia is extremely difficult to recognize, but it is extremely easy to treat if it is recognized. But in the end, it is very easy to recognize. But by the time you recognize it, it is extremely difficult to treat. So I say all of this to say that now is the time at the beginning for you to scrutinize, to with microscopic vision, look carefully at what is presented to you so you may avoid yourselves from getting into trouble that would be extremely difficult to get out of. So the bottom line is this: the Grenada Social Democratic Party is the only party that is positioned to understand the infrastructural situation with this Polaris, and is the only party that has actually addressed the many issues and seemingly improprieties that are taking place. So as we have said, we here at the GSDP see ourselves as defenders of Grenada, and we will continue to fight, to struggle, and in some respects sacrifice and ultimately serve the Grenadian people. So, if you love our content, please subscribe and comment below in the comment section. And of course, feel free to support us, because your support help us to continue what we're doing and to be more effective and to expand our outreach so that each and every Grenadian can understand what is taking place. So the heart-shaped super tanks, click on it, send us a coffee or something, or whatever support that you can afford. So, guten Abend. Ich hoffe, es geht Ihnen sehr gut. Good night. I hope that you are doing very well.
At Caribbean Issues, we care about your health and wellness. That's why we have taken the time and effort to research, formulate, and create a complete daily strength system just for you. Yes, you. Everyone can use it, for beginner to advanced. Fully interactive with exercise cues, timers, audio motivation, end of exercise alerts, schedule, progress recording, and tracking, and more. It all works without the need for internet and on your computer, tablet, and mobile devices.